Is this the book I want to write? We'll look at the importance of capturing and nurturing ideas. We'll also look at 8 criteria for evaluating potential novel ideas, focusing on personal resonance. I will go through the material pretty quickly, but don't worry, you can find everything you see on the screen in the documentation. So there's no need to pause the tutorial to jot things down. Ideas. You'd be surprised where novel ideas come from. Lots of stories come from childhood experiences. Witnessing social injustice can inspire stories with strong moral messages. And sometimes, a dream or a scary nightmare can be the beginning of a great story. A discussion with a friend can spark a new idea. Other books are huge sources that can inspire a writer. AI can also provide many ideas. Please take a look at the How to Find Story Ideas tutorial in the AI Tools, Novelcrafter section. And so on. Basically, the things that inspire novels are as different and interesting as the stories themselves. But how do you catch those sparks of inspiration before they fade away? I keep a writer's notebook. It's like a treasure chest for all those budding ideas. I write down those dialogues, characters, dreams and other ideas that I find interesting before they disappear. I do go back to the notebook from time to time, and I'm always surprised by what I find. An idea that seemed totally out there a year ago might suddenly make perfect sense today. It's amazing how my perspective changes over time. My interests, my skills, even my life experiences evolve. What once felt like a bad idea could suddenly ignite into something great. So, those ideas aren't lost, they're just waiting for the right moment. They're waiting for me to come back and bring them to life. Let me give you an example of some bits of information I saved in my notebook. Once I overheard this conversation between 2 girls and I jotted it down in my writer's notebook. One girl was complaining that no one's interested in her. Her friend pointed several guys who were interested, but she shoot them down. Not rich enough, not smart enough, not attractive enough. Another time I read a blurb from a romance novel. About a nurse caught between a charming surgeon and a super rich billionaire. I thought it was so super cliché that I jotted it down in my notebook. Years later, I read a self-help book called Coming Alive, by a couple of shrinks in Hollywood. It was about this woman, Anne, pretty, maybe in her 30s, who was always searching for Mr. Right. She wanted someone to keep her life exciting, someone to save her from being bored and lonely. Basically, she wanted a real-life fairy tale romance, the kind where you walk off into the sunset and live happily ever after. And when her boyfriends couldn't live up to that dream, she'd break up with them, feeling even worse than before. On the screen you can see a part of what she said and I thought it was so interesting that I wrote it down in my notebook. I was really struck by Anne's story. That resonated with me. It's so human to look for a perfect, magical solution instead of facing reality. We all do it. That's what Mark Twain meant when he said, "It's not what we don't know that gets us in trouble. It's what we know for sure that just ain't so." It's all about our misconceptions. I think that misconceptions are big problems for all of us. And Anne's misconception of what love is a perfect example. That's what sparked my interest and that's why I thought that it might be worth to write a novel about it. So the novel I envisioned was a contemporary romance about a woman who has to grapple with her misconception of what love is, and who has to make a journey of self-discovery in order to find real love and happiness. Now, I really don't want to dive into writing a whole book without thinking it through. It's a big commitment. If I start and then just give up halfway, I'd be wasting a lot of time. So, what can I do to make sure that doesn't happen? The first mistake is to ask if this is a good story. Here's the deal, any novel can be good. It might have great writing, interesting characters, or a clever plot. But just because a novel is good doesn't mean it's the right one for me. Here is a better question, is this really the story I want to spend my time on? Before I eagerly start to write my next novel, I take a moment to check off the following signs. 1. I get really excited about the idea. It keeps popping into my head all the time. I find myself imagining scenes without even trying. It's the last thing I think about before I go to sleep and the first thing on my mind when I wake up. I can't wait to jump out of bed and get started. And so on for all the other signs. I use the signs to guide my decision. If I'm ready to tackle challenges, I'll go for it. Otherwise, I will explore other ideas that better match my passion and energy. I want to make sure that my writing journey is one that truly resonates with me. So I thought long and hard about Anne's romantic misconception and her journey of self-discovery, and if I was the right person to write about it. I checked each point on the previous list, and answered yes to most points. So I said, heck yeah, I'm writing this novel. That's all for this tutorial. Thank you for watching.